Hi, this is Dana, and on this channel I speak about spiritual warfare. I have another channel on astrology and a Facebook page about with prophetic writings, and I invite you to read those. I will mention only and acknowledge the fact that there are individuals who are stealing my intellectual property, who are impersonating me, stealing my identity, my ideas, and so on, my work. Um, and I invite you to be cautious and not to engage with anyone, particularly in the comment section, because many of them are trolls and because they try to use my identity to engage with other individuals. And they will harm you, basically. So I invite you to be cautious. Now, in this video, God has guided me to talk about one particular aspect of bondage breaking, which probably I didn't mention enough in my work. Um, let's start from the beginning. Bondage breaking, ideally, happens in astral. I said this already in a video in which I talked about parallel lifetimes and different timelines and so on. Yeah. So I explained there that ideally you break the bondage in astral before it becomes reality, because this is basically how they create it. They create, first of all, this type of so-called spiritual attacks of black magic and sorcery and witchcraft and so on, which ultimately they aim to transform it, to manifest it into reality. So they create slander on you, and then they spread the slander so much, and they attach so much, so many spirits and demons and low entities to it, in order to carry weight and to be transformed in reality for you. And they have done a lot of harm through that. They led people into losing their jobs, losing their houses, losing their families, and a lot of harm. God has shown to me really dramatic situations in which, through this kind of manipulation, energy manipulation, they led people to kill themselves, to commit suicide. They led individuals to become addicted to different, by slander. Really, God has shown to me, because they spread the slander so much, but it's literally a professional task taken upon themselves by these gang stalking groups. And they literally infuse that with so much darkness and with repetitive ritualic practices, and they spread it through different individuals, through attachments and so on, until it carried so much weight that it becomes a constant thought, which is inserted by darkness. Is not your own thought, but if you embrace it, then you become it. So this is really important. This is what they aim for, basically. And God has shown to me a lot of dramatic situations with people who actually picked up a lot of addictions, including drugs, prostitution, all sorts of addictions, murders, crimes. Even God has shown to me, even, for example, criminals who actually became criminals because of this, because of slander and lies. And if you don't break that bondage, if you actually embrace it and it becomes your reality, and particularly if you repeat that experience multiple lifetimes, then it becomes impregnated, all that darkness in your DNA. So at some point, literally, you view it as a addiction and as a disease, you know, and it can be considered that way. But if you really want to cure it and you go to the root cause of the situation, then you will see that it's basically darkness. It's spirit attachment, and much of it is being created through slander, through bullying, through negative self-talk, because this is the first step. After they do this, it's your negative self-talk. God is whispering to me negative self-thought, so I think maybe he's speaking to someone through me right now. And so this is very dangerous. But this is what they do. Now, the bondage breaking, ideally, you do it in astral. Namely, you have a good communication with the divine realm. You learn about these things being done, and you do spiritual fighting with light in order to nullify the darkness attachments, so it won't carry weight, so it will become reality for you. First of all. Second of all, you take steps in 3D material existence in order to undermine what they are trying to create. Yeah, so this is really important. This is really important. But this is if you have a good communication with the divine realm, a constant practice, spiritual practice of communication with divine realm, and you learn about it ahead of time, and then you take the proper steps in order to stop it. Now, this can be also controlled only to some extent, because you cannot always control the type of network they have. Many of these gang stalking groups are working with each other, and sometimes it's enough to receive an order, and if they are paid well enough, God has shown to me how they work together with many other groups, and something which should have been like just an attack, spiritual attack, which you could have easily counter. If they use an enlarged network of criminal activity, it can become overwhelming. It can become overwhelming, and you might not have the proper tools or the time necessary to learn about it enough, or you might not have enough experience. This is why I mentioned many times, you need to be a very good observer of everything. And personally, I take notes of everything, simply because I will tell you, because I learned my lesson when I had that surprise attack in 2018, and I said, I will learn everything and I will seek to understand everything from God. So if ever I will be in a surprise attack and I will not be able to communicate with God, I will know what to do on my own, So this is very important. Because they do surprise attacks pretty often, particularly as you advance in elevation and your spiritual path. So it's important for you to actually understand how the divine logic works, so you will be able to make your own decisions, even if you're not able to request guidance from divine realm. Yeah. Anyhow, coming back to the message, the idea is that you break this bondage in astral, and with the support of some steps in material existence, in 3D, in order not to become a reality. But what God asked me to talk about now is that sometimes, and this is true, I lived through it myself. I guess I didn't speak about it because I don't like it. Sometimes, literally, you don't get to break that bondage in astral, because they move too fast, because you don't get to learn about it, or sometimes simply because God wants to take out some of them. So they want, God has many, many, many reasons why he acts differently sometimes. He has his own agenda. God many times in the spiritual fighting will not allow, but will sit idle and watch them, because many times God has shown to me, in order to punish them properly and to take them out, sometimes I need to let them do certain things, because otherwise you keep fighting with them in astral, and you break the bondage in astral, but they will continue to create bondage in astral. So at some point, when you mature enough in your spiritual fighting, and you develop enough power, I need you to actually go through some of these bondages, leave the bondages, for a number of reasons. One of them is that I need to eliminate some of them, because some of them simply got to a point where they are doing way too much harm around them. They're destroying too many people, they're killing too many people. And many of those individuals, when they get to this phase, usually they don't have a soul anymore, and they are entrenched in doing harm so deeply that God cannot actually attach a soul to them. They just carry too much darkness. which they take upon themselves willingly to cloak themselves and to get, they believe, power. But in fact, they don't get power. They just allow dark forces to work through them. That's all. So God has guided me to talk particularly about this, namely the situation in which you live through a bondage. So basically, the bondage evolves, either that they moved too fast and they used an enlarged network and they overwhelmed you, or that God really wants you to go through that in order to create the conditions to take out certain individuals, basically. It's like this. And also God is whispering to me also because you must develop power. And many times the power is developed through going through the bondage itself. And also the faith is tested this way. When the bondage comes into existence and you live through it, you know. I will give a few examples that come now to my mind. God is telling me to give examples. I didn't want to prepare examples before because I don't like to talk about these experiences. But I'll give you one example now. There were certain situations where God has shown me the use of slander and how actually they try to get away from judgment and punishment. And they always make very silly excuses and they lie a lot. Unbelievable how much they lie in order to get away from punishment. And God has shown me, for example, that a woman whose doppelganger, she's copying me, she aims to be me, she carried out an entire war against me. I never noticed this woman, honestly, although she's a neighbor of mine across the street, but I never actually paid attention to her, to be honest. And I never imagined that she, in her mind, harbors such crazy lunatic plans against me. But in any case, God has shown to me that she hated me a lot. And one of the things that she kept talking about, slandering my name, was about, basically she was hating the fact, I didn't even imagine this, but she was hating the fact that when I moved in the neighborhood, she said, that she hated the fact that I was too elegant, always too, how to say, elegant, basically. I was just dressed up to go to office. It's not, I always dressed according to the code, to the dress code associated to the event I go to. So if I go to the office, I will never dress too flashy. I will dress very businesslike, and much of my wardrobe is, of course, accordingly. But due to my profession, of course, I had to build up a very diverse wardrobe because I attended different type of events which had a different dress code. So if I will go to a black tie event, I will dress in black tie. I cannot go in jeans to a black tie event or a reception or a dinner or whatever, yeah. This is part of what used to be my career of diplomacy. You have to have a specific attire to each type of event that you're going, and it has to be appropriate. It's very bad taste to disrespect the dress code for the events and to go either overdressed or underdressed. You have to go appropriately. There's protocol rules about this. Anyhow, since I moved here at the outskirts of the city, I never went to the black tie events and reception events and so anymore because that was towards the end of my career and I was sick and tired of them, first of all. Second of all, it took me too long to drive from outside of city back into the city just to go for an event in the evening, and I was planning to build my own business. This is why I moved at the outskirts of the city, to build my own business here on spirituality and work from here. And the headquarters of the business was supposed to be in my own courtyard, in the house next door. So I wasn't dressed too flashy. I was just dressed business attire. But this woman God showed to me she was obsessed with this. Anyhow, and she basically hated me for this. So she created a lot of slander and gossip around and everywhere about this, and they stole certain individual from the neighborhood. They stole an inheritance. They stole my mail and an inheritance which I was to receive, because they argued like this: she has too much money, and she dresses too elegant. She has too expensive wardrobe, and basically they argumented everything they did against me. They argued this way, that I was too expensive, and that I had too many too expensive wardrobe, and I had too much money. And for sure, she was sure, and she told everyone she's sure that I must basically have some sort of how you call this, sugar daddy or something, a man who's supporting my financial expenses, basically. That literally, basically, in slander, you would say that I was sleeping around for this. This is what this stupid woman said to everyone, which of course was not true. And she didn't care to even ask me about it, so I will explain. That was a wardrobe which I built in 27 years of career in diplomacy, which requested me to build that wardrobe. So I invested literally my own money in a wardrobe for professional purpose, because of course I had to dress accordingly. That was the purpose, and I bought everything on my own. Nobody paid for it. And I did this in time, again, in 27 years. But I did, even if she would have asked me, I don't think I would have explained this, because I don't feel like I have to explain myself to anyone. And this is just slander. Anyhow, she made a lot of curses, a lot of witchcraft against me on my money. A group of them stole my money, and actually, I'm fighting to get them back, and I will get them back very soon. This is the argument they had, and they made a lot of witchcraft at me, basically. So I'll be poor, so I will lose my house, so I will lose my job, so I will be ugly, so I will be fat, so I will be, I cannot even explain to you how much craziness, when God showed this to me, I was in disbelief. I don't believe people have nothing else to do than to do this. I am very private person. I don't engage with anyone. Nobody entered my house ever. I didn't have guests. I didn't have party. I didn't have anything. So I didn't bother anyone. I didn't go to anyone's door to ask for anything. I just minded my own business, So I did not imagine that my simple existence in the area can create so much turmoil. But later on, of course, I learned that this is a gang stalking group which is paid. They are mercenaries. They are paid to do this. But anyhow, the point is, I learned about everything that they have done way too late. And not only this, but they had a very extended network. So they created a lot of dark heaviness on this. I did lose my job, but I lost my job because I quit. And I quit when I understood that these people are doing this institutionally. So basically, she got her wish, but she got her wish not in the way she wanted, because she wanted me to lose the job, being fired or something. But anyhow, at some point, God showed me that, of course, when I didn't go to the office anymore, I didn't dress like that anymore, because I had no purpose to dress business-like if I was just going to buy groceries, But God has shown to me, He said, I wanted, basically, time passed by, I quit my job, and I didn't lose my house, of course. I'm still here in the neighborhood. But God has shown to me that He wanted them confronted, because they were doing this as a gang stalking group, So God sat idle and didn't expose them to me, what they were doing ahead of time, because He wanted to punish them for the real reason why they did this. God said, I didn't tell you ahead of time, because this is not the real reason why they do it. This is just a pretext that they use. But the real reason why they do it is because they are a gang stalking group, and they are being paid in order to do this against you. And so God didn't show this to me until basically all the arguments that women used against me were nullified. I wasn't the rich woman which she was hating because she's dressed too elegant. I wasn't dressing elegant anymore. I didn't have a very famous job like she described it in diplomacy because I quit. So basically, God said, okay, now you don't have anything that she used as a pretext against you to do this slander and to do these attacks. Let us see and let us prove. Does she continue to do witchcraft on you? Now you don't have money, you don't have income for a long time. Does she still hate you? You don't dress elegant because you don't go to the office, you just dress in jeans. Does she still hate you? So basically, God waited in order for her true reasons to be exposed, not the arguments that she has used, you know. So this was living through the bondage. This is one example of living through the bondage. Basically, showing that that woman hates me equally when I have no money at all, when I don't dress elegant at all, when I change my appearance, and she cannot blame anything on me, even if I'm isolated and nobody comes to me, and no, it never came because I don't usually invite people to my home. My home is very private to me, and I don't have guests. Usually, when I used to have guests, I used to go to restaurants. I didn't invite them at home. So basically, this is one example when God will sit idle with, and He has His own agenda in this. As I explained, because He said, if I would have punished her because she said these things, that was just a silly thing, because they always downplay what they're doing. They never give the real reasons why they do it. So I wanted her to be exposed that she continues to do the same kind of attacks on you much later on, when you don't have any of those things which she pretended to use as a pretext in order to do harm to you. So this is an example of living through the bondage. Another example is that God will not show you certain bondages, and you will live through them, and you will break those bondages by who you are, you know. And for example, God has shown to me that part of the slander that this woman and her friends in the neighborhood has done against me was that if she wouldn't be so rich, about me, you know, if she wouldn't be so rich, she will prostitute herself for money. Which also I don't understand, what kind of discussion is this, that you assume about people what they will do if they will be in this and this situation. This is just crazy talk, you know. Anyhow, God didn't show me this either. And when I quit my job, I explained already, I needed to provide food for my dog. And for a while, of course, my adoptive family didn't support me actually in my spiritual fighting. And I went and I got hired. I explained this. I went to a market store, and basically I got hired in the night shift. In order, basically for the night shift, they hire people without contract, because I said I will never get ever another job with contract of employee, since now I know what they do with that, namely making contracts on you and attaching darkness and so on, and harvesting energy and so on. And then I got hired, and I went and I worked every night in one of the market stores, basically putting merchandise on shelves, you know, doing inventory, things which you are paid by hour, basically. And they don't use their own employees for this. They just have groups of people. Usually in this kind of groups, there are refugees, people who don't have a right to work in that country, people in very problematic situations, basically. And I worked like that for some time in order to provide food for my dog, you know, and for myself, of course. And God has shown to me that I didn't tell you before, but they said this, that if you wouldn't have this kind of money to spend, I don't know how she would know what I spend money on. But anyhow, she kept saying this, that I would prostitute myself. So he said, by the choices you made, you already broke that bondage. Namely, that it's not true. You wouldn't go prostitute yourself if you don't have money. You will just go work, and you will feel comfortable with doing decent, honorable work, even if it's not what you are used to. We will not choose the easy way out, but you will still have integrity and moral values. And you will still provide for you and those dear to you. And I even got hired in that period of time. I remember I called many agencies. I called many agencies, and I wanted to go as a babysitter, but I couldn't find as a babysitter. So I went for a week or so because I needed to buy food for Lucky. I went for a temporary cleaning lady for a family. Just simply like this. I said, I'm cleaning my house all the time. I'm actually better at cleaning houses because I also know to clean them spiritually, and I can do this. It's no big deal. It's like I clean my house. I clean another house, and then I just get money for this, and these are clean money, and I earned those money with my work, and they're just clean money. And I actually had no problem in doing that. So God said, by doing this, you proved that you still make the right choice, namely the preserving your moral values and preserving who you are and your integrity, even if you really don't have money. Because this was one argument which they used. Everybody praises her because of her moral values. If she would be in my place, if she wouldn't have money, if she wouldn't have this, she will do anything. She will go prostitute herself. She will do this. And God said, look, now you proved on your own that even if you're in this kind of situation, you still make the right choice. And God has shown to me. And actually, I was mad at the time. And I told God, I said, this is crazy. What the fuck you mean? You made me go through this just to prove to them? Who the fuck are they? That their opinion matters so much. And God has shown to me, this is important to me. Because through you going through all of these, basically, first of all, I teach them a lesson. Because God has his own agenda through bondage breaking, which is a bit different from yours. It's not 100% as yours. He also needs to teach the karmics a lesson. And God also says, I also need to inspire and show examples to other individuals who will go through that at a certain stage of their life. So they will find the courage and the inspiration how to deal with these situations while still preserving their faith, knowing that others went through it and they made it through, So this is another way of bondage breaking, actually living through the bondage. And my personal message, I don't like this part, I must be honest, and I didn't like it at any point, but I still didn't believe it's fair that I had to go through it. And this is not just the only ones. There are many examples like this that I went through. But I understood the logic of it. And I said, nothing will stop me. As long as I can be myself and I can preserve my values and I am with God, nothing can stop me. And I literally went through it. And my personal message about this is you need just to preserve your faith. Understand that this is a temporary thing. And God, if there's a delay, God has a reason for it. He needs to teach this one a lesson. I still don't like that personally. And if it would be my personal choice, I would say that, you just make justice immediately to me. But this is not how it works. Because God says each and every success case is important to be used in order to teach others. Either teach a lesson to the karmics or teach others who will follow you and will have to know what they can do. And we'll have to see an example that as long as you keep your faith and you understand that this is a temporary thing and that God is doing work through you, and you will get through it, and then things will be different for you and will improve, obviously, and so on. So this is basically the purpose of if there is a delay and God decides at certain points to not allow, because he doesn't allow it, but just to sit idle. And again, God has shown to me, I need you to get on the other side of this bondage, because when I need them to be exposed that this is not true. They don't do all this harm to you because you're rich. They don't do all this harm to you because I was never that kind of rich, because they always stole my money. I was actually paying mortgage and installments on my house when she was saying all this. I didn't even have enough money to pay in full my house immediately. I had to pay in installments. So that was stupid. It was not true. I was paying also interest at the bank and so on. That was just stupid things that they said. And also I was celibate. And I've been celibate ever since, before moving here. And so it was just lies that they were saying. And God said, in order to expose this, we need to go through certain number of all of these things that they say. So they will see, so other people will see that they continue to harm you, even if you have no money for food. And they basically lost the argument which they use, that they harm you because you have too much, they hate you because you have too much money. That's not true. Anyhow, so this is this part. But then there's another situation in which basically they just have too large of a network, so they succeed in creating this kind of bondages too heavy in terms of darkness attachment, because there are too many working on that. They are supporting each other and they are sharing the benefits, material benefits. They actually get paid in money and also in material goods, namely house, car, land. I'm telling you, I know this from my own bondage breaking. And God has shown me for each and every fucking single individual involved in creating bondage against me, what they received in exchange for doing harm to me. So I actually know this. It's not just. So they share this with other groups in order to pull them in and to convince them, to help them in order to become an overwhelming attack for you, so you cannot see it ahead of time, so you cannot fight it against it ahead of time. But my message is just have faith. If you find yourself in these situations, just have faith and know that on the other side, as soon as you cross this bridge, on the other side, God will make justice for you. And if he doesn't make justice immediately, it means God has a plan. Always God has a plan, just so you know. And it's been proven to me, God knows ahead of time what they plan to do, because each and every bondage we're breaking, as I said before, it was created before this lifetime. So God knows what they did in previous lifetimes. He knows that when they got to the judgment, they actually used excuses, and he will guide you through the process in such a way so it will be successful. And in certain situations, God will say, I want to take this individual out. And for this reason, I need you to live through the bondage so people will see what he does, how far he is willing to go, you know, because otherwise, particularly in astral, it's just a he said, she said, and only individual with astral vision can see the truth. And still, there is not enough law. There are not enough law provisions. You see, certainly a throat chakra attack. There's not enough law provisions to fight this legally. But I devote myself to creating that. I promise you. This is one of my goals in the next future, to focus on justice system in order to take to 3D justice all the individuals who did bondage on me and who stole from me, to get everything back, and I will make sure to create the legislation in place in order for this to become easily to be processed by the justice system. Okay, so now, as I said, they have a lot of alliances. They have extended networks. So sometimes is delayed, and sometimes by living through the bondage instead of breaking it in astral, you expose them, and this is important. This is important to expose them, so you can actually punish them and take them out at certain time when God will guide you. And let me tell you one more thing, which I really wanted. I noted here, and I really wanted to say this. Because this was a surprise to me in my bondage breaking. And there were many circumstances in which God decided that He wants certain bondage to come into being in order to end, because He said, I need to take you to a different timeline, and I don't want them to follow you. I want certain individuals out, because otherwise they will do body jumping and they will follow you in another timeline. And from this point forward, we have a new beginning for you, and we have new people that you meet, and we don't want them to follow you. Yeah, so I need to start taking out some of them. But in this, so that's a difficult time when actually you go to and live through bondage. So certain things in your life, unpleasant things, will come into being, including aggressiveness, like I gave you the example of the 2 puppies which they killed and they threw them in my courtyard and so on. So this is really ugly thing. This was a ritualic practice, and they did this in order to kill, to create death spirit attached to my land. This wasn't just a crazy act. This was something very spiritual and with a huge impact. But anyhow, what I wanted to say is that in this, particularly in these phases, when you live through the bondage created by your opponents or enemies, God keeps saying opponents, I call them enemies. They're enemies. I see them as enemies to me. And basically what happens, and I was very surprised in this, because I had, for example, ancestors of my enemies helping me. So their own ancestors came to me and to God, and they said, we distance ourselves from this individual. He's from our lineage, but we do not want to pay the karma he created. He created a karma which we are not willing to take upon ourselves and on our lineage. And we want to help you, and we want him to be taken out. Literally, this happened to me. So ancestors of my opponents who were attacking me basically helped me to defeat them. Then as you keep fighting, and please watch the video before, in which I explained a lot about the importance of determination and how you can work with the divine realm in order to adjust your strategy. I had, for example, God has shown to me, because He was very proud of me, God has shown to me, for example, because I was fighting, and because we adjust strategy and so on, and God actually said to me, I will break protocol for you. Because you do this for me, I will break protocol for you in many circumstances. And basically God has shown to me that different ancestors from different areas and different races would come to God and would ask, please bring her to a timeline to work with us, because we also need somebody to break bondage on specific topics, and we need. So God has shown me everybody in the divine realm actually asks to work with you, because you are so determined, and because you are so not only willing but forward looking to adapt strategy, and you're innovative, and you come with proposals how to adjust strategy in order to advance. And many of these individuals, many of these ancestors basically some of them actually would talk to me and would say, you know, the individuals that they were supposed to work with, they were fallen angels, and they refused to work with fallen angels, you know, and basically they had nobody to work with them, you know. So this is what I mean. This actually is a continuation of the message which I squeezed in the previous video about the determination and the flexibility and how to adjust your strategy in spiritual fighting. You will get a lot of support. Much love will come from the divine realm, not only from your ancestors. As I said, I enlarged my team of ancestors a lot through this spiritual fighting, because many of them would just come to me and would say, you know, we want to work with you. We offer to create embodiment for her in different timeline, and we offer to help her to exit from this timeline in order to get in a timeline where we can actually work with her to break bondage, because they also had specific issues on which they needed bondage to be broken, you know. Again, the same message as in the previous video. I encourage you to be determined and to take an active part in shaping up the strategy, not on your own, talking with the divine realm, but believing in it and coming with proposals and with the willingness to actually embrace what God is guiding you to do. I will stop now because this is 41 minutes. And I don't want this to be very long. Again, the message is that at some point you will live through some of the bondages, and you will still break them, but first you will go through them. And there are a number of reasons why God will decide this way. And every time when God doesn't end something, it means he has a purpose for something to be achieved before you move. And many times is exactly this what I said, namely that he wants to put an end to certain chords, certain strings, certain contracts which were done. And I'm not referring to the 3D contracts of harvesting or stealing from you. I'm talking about spiritual contracts done in spiritual, in divine realm, with people with whom you came into incarnation and with whom you had missions together, but they chose to betray and you don't match anymore. So God will always have a reason why he wants to cut certain things. So he will delay to move you in a different timeline, simply because he wants you to get into that timeline free of all that was in the timeline where you are right now. Yeah. And you will have huge surprises. I promise you, if you walk this path, I had amazing surprises from the divine realm. And I encourage you to live through it, because it's a unique experience. And you will feel much more comfortable with the spiritual fighting, even in 3D, as long as you will see with your own eyes, and you will witness and experience in so many ways help from the divine realm, through adjusting your strategy and being creative and receiving more gifts, and obviously at the end of it receiving more rewards from all these ancestors. And please keep in mind that all these divine forces with whom you interact and who help you and with whom you engage in your spiritual fighting will continue to be part of your divine team from divine realm. So they will continue to keep in touch with you, because you broke bondage for them on specific topics, on or specific identities or so on. Yeah. So this will expand your spiritual life a lot. Okay, I'm gonna stop here now. Please let me know if you have any questions, and as well, if I will invite you again to read my prophetic writings on my Facebook page, because there I was much more detailed. It's much easier to write than to speak directly. And if you're interested to donate to support my channel, you'll find the PayPal account in the description box below. And I thank you in advance for it.